at all. So there have been calls now to try to change the policy here. Critics say that the idea that Hong Kong can simply try to maintain this idea of zero COVID, they say it's just not plausible. The emphasis needs to be placed on vaccinations, like in many other parts of the world.
Danny Vincent in Hong Kong there, ending this edition of NewsHour with me, Anna Holligan. Thank you very much for being with us. Stay with the BBC World Service.
This is the BBC World Service. And on the inquiry this week, Russia's president has offered the past as justification for his invasion of Ukraine, saying the two countries belong together. This week on the inquiry, we're asking, does Putin's view of history explain why he invaded Ukraine? The inquiry at bbcworldservice.com/inquiry. This is the BBC World Service, and on our website you can explore more of our programmes, from documentaries to science. Listen and download at any time by going to bbcworldservice.com. On air, online and on smartphone, this is the BBC World Service, the world's radio station.
It's time for the Science Hour now here on the BBC World Service, and if you're in the mood for relaxing, the good news is so is the Crowd Science team.
I'll just happily lie here and enjoy the massage. This is great. Thank you. I mean, I definitely feel very relaxed, which is kind of shocking given I've got an audience of 4 whilst I'm having this massage.
The magic of massage explored in 30 minutes. Before that, Science in Action investigates the rocketing case rates of COVID in Hong Kong after 2 years of suppression. Deaths are mounting alarmingly because vaccines did not reach the most vulnerable.
The elderly, the over 60, over 70 and worst over 80 population, the uptake was abysmal. It was less than 20% people vaccinated with 2 doses in the over 80 subgroup.
The lessons from Hong Kong after the news.
Hello, this is Julie Candler with the BBC News. Intense fighting is continuing on the outskirts of the Ukrainian capital Kiev, with shelling by Russian forces and outgoing fire by its defenders. Ukrainian army commanders are concerned the Russians may be preparing to launch a large-scale assault on the city, as well as trying to encircle it. The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says the invaders are suffering heavy losses. James Waterhouse has more from Kiev.
We do know that there's heavy fighting a half-hour drive from here in the western, northwesterly direction around the towns there. Some people are able to get out, but it's the spreading out of that 40-mile-long armoured convoy which is adding to worries that Russia is preparing to mount a much larger attack on the capital. But one of many things which is hard to compute in this conflict is what is actually going to happen next. Of course, we are seeing a continuation of cities being surrounded, certainly with Kharkiv in the east and especially Mariupol in the southeast, where conditions are increasingly desperate for people there. But it's not clear what Russia is planning for the capital.
Efforts to evacuate Ukrainians near the front line are continuing. In Irpin, to the northwest of Kiev, people are having to negotiate a makeshift river crossing by a blown-up bridge. Abdul Jalil Abdurasulov reports from Irpin.
You can hear the sound of explosions. Even though the evacuation from this area is still going on, we can't say that the ceasefire is holding because we can hear the sound of explosions and the sound of artillery fire.
Hundreds of protesters have taken to the streets in the Russian-occupied city of Melitopol in southern Ukraine to demand the release of the mayor, who was abducted on Friday by Russian forces. Danny Eberhard reports.
The protesters chanted defiantly outside an administrative building in Melitopol, calling on Russia's security forces to release Mayor Fedorov. A few held placards, others carried the blue and yellow flag of Ukraine. The Ukrainian authorities say Mr. Fedorov had refused to cooperate with the Russian occupiers. They've released CCTV footage that appears to show a hooded man being marched out of a building by Russian troops. Russia has not commented. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has called for his immediate release, urging world leaders to raise the issue with Moscow.
France and Germany have again urged Russia to start an immediate ceasefire in Ukraine. The leaders of the two countries made the call during a phone conversation with President Putin, which lasted more than an hour. They also told him a diplomatic solution had to be found to the conflict. The two made a similar ceasefire appeal when they last spoke with the Russian leader on Thursday. This is the latest world news from the BBC. 3 European countries signed up to the 2015 Iran nuclear deal have warned that new demands by Russia have put efforts to revive the agreement at risk.